Olá, eu sou o Fábio Silvestre, de Uberlândia, Brasil. Bem-vindos ao OhioRAAM Show e eu espero que vocês gostem do nosso bate-papo. Hi, my name is Fábio from Brazil and welcome to the OhioRAAM Show.
Thank you, Fabio, for that introduction. We appreciate that. And Fabio will be on the show on April the 27th. And the OhioRAAM Show is a show about cycling, and ultracycling comes to you 3 times a month on the 7th, the 17th, and the 27th of each month. My name is Lee Kreider. I host the show, and this is show number 147. We're approaching our 5th anniversary of the OhioRAAM Show. And on that show, June the 7th, we're going to have Vic Armijo of the RAM Media Squad and Lisa Brunkhorst of Team Oxford Autoimmune. And as we did last year, we're going to be taking a look at RAM 2017. We'll be looking at the riders, doing some speculation on what we expect to happen in 2017. Of course, if our previous experience is any indication, we will always be wrong, but it's fun doing it just the same. Now, if you have some thoughts about what you're expecting for RAM 2017, why don't you share your opinion with us by going to the show website, OhioRAAMshow.com, and in the area where the contact form is at, just give us an opinion of what you think might be happening in the Race Across America 2017, the riders you like, the things you expect to see, and we may share them on the show. The show is fathered and mothered by Time Station 41 in Oxford, Ohio, and Time Station 42 in Blanchester, Ohio. These time stations are open 24 hours a day during the race with 24-hour food, 24-hour fuel, 24-hour fans. And it is a great place to come and see the race. If you live anywhere in the Midwest area, we would be glad to have you. There will always be somebody there to update you on what's going on. And if you're new to ultracycling and new to the Race Across America, they will be able to help you understand how the race is working, the rules, and what's going on. Now this year, the race will start on June the 13th in Oceanside, California for solo riders, and on the 17th for the team riders, which means that here in Ohio, the teams will be catching up with the solo riders, and so there's a lot of action at our time stations. We anticipate our time stations will open on Tuesday, June the 20th, or around midnight. But if one of the riders is coming through before that, and sometimes they do, we will be open at the start of the very first racer, stay open around the clock until the last racer has passed. On today's show, we go to London, England to visit with Jasmijn Muller. Jasmijn appeared on my radar last year at the 24-Hour Worlds, and she became quite popular during her 72-hour Zwift adventure. We'll talk about that later. This show will come in 2 parts. Part 1 was recorded back in January, and then Part 2 was recorded after her Zwift ride. So, off to London. Well, hello, Jasmijn. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks.
And you're there in London. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm in London because I've got a British husband. It's a long story, but I'll cut it short. We met in Indonesia in 2001 when we were both still living a different life as dive instructors. And we lived in Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines, enjoying the warm weather and the bare feet lifestyle. But after 5 years, we came back to Europe. And initially we lived in the Netherlands for 3 years whilst I studied tourism there. And I then jokingly said to him, all right, I'll do 3 years in the UK with you. And we came here in 2007 and we're still here. We got a house meanwhile and I got a job that I like, and well, there you go.
I first spotted your name, Jasmine, on the results page of the 24-hour world time trials last fall. Was kind of interested in that. And then our good friend Shu Pillinger told me a little bit about you. I understand that you had been a commuter cyclist for some time. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I grew up in the Netherlands. I actually only cycled my bike to go from A to B for many, many years. I didn't really do sports as a child, but I cycled to go to my ballet lessons or cycled to go to my music lessons. And it was only when I started living in the UK, bought a bike through the Cycle to Work scheme in 2010, that I had my first sort of modern bike. And then in 2012, I joined a cycling club and then slowly started to get into competitive cycling. For me, initially, when I joined the cycling club, I tried to hang on to, well, initially you start with the slow ride and then you get on well and you try to go on the faster ride. And then there was a group of people in the cycling club who tended to do the fastest rides. And whenever I went with them on, say, a 50-mile ride, I could stay on, but I struggled. But if it was a 100-mile ride, actually towards the end of that ride, most people would get tired and I finally found my legs. So I found that the longer the ride went on, actually, the better I did. And I then explored that in 2013. I decided to have a go at the first 24-hour race at Le Mans in France.
That was 2013, you say?
2013, yeah.
So you became aware that you could handle the longer distances.
For me, it was fairly early on that I tried the longer distances, I guess. Whereas I have a lot of cycling friends who've been racing for years, but they know that they're good at a 25 or maximum, say, a 50-mile time trial. But they're almost like afraid to try the longer distances. They think that, being in the saddle for that long is going to be uncomfortable, or being able to go fast for that long is going to be impossible. Once you've done a long distance, actually everything shorter than that becomes easy. If you know the 24-hour, then a 12 seems short. I think it's also the genes that you're born with. But for me, it's definitely the longer distances that I enjoy and that I do well at. My first experiences in time trialing started in 2014. So I'd done the 24-hour race at Le Mans in 2013, which was on a road bike, and I won that as a solo woman. If I was a man, I would have been 10th solo as well. And that was despite sitting down for, I think, about 2 hours or so during that race. And I thought, okay, let's treat myself to a time trial bike and see how far I can take this. And then in 2014, first season of time trialing, I became Best British All-Rounder, which is the fastest average speed over a 25, 50 and 100-mile time trial. The best thing about that is that I'm not British, but I managed to win the Best British All-Rounder title. But my main goal that year had been to win the 12-hour. I didn't. I punctured and I completely lost my head in that race. I still came third, but I didn't win the main goal, but I won the Best British All-Rounder nonetheless. So that was a very good first season. And then in 2015, my second season of time trialing, I then managed to win that national 12-hour championships. But it was a very, very close race. The woman I was racing against, in the end, there was 193 meters of difference between us over 12 hours. That's like 20 seconds.
For a lot of people who aren't familiar with ultra cycling or endurance cycling, 193 meters sounds like an awful distance to win by. But in ultra cycling, that's
nothing.
By a hair, isn't it?
And it was a really good race because all day long, you're either just about in the lead or you're just about to catch up. So it kept it really, really exciting all day long. The Worlds was interesting. I was leading from the start. I was leading all the way through up till 19 hours in. I think I still had about 51 minutes lead or so. And then I pulled out. I got overheated, severely overheated, to the point where I couldn't see properly anymore, couldn't get my power up anymore, or my heart rate. And then tried to cool down with ice. And after 20 minutes, tried to go back into the race, but couldn't even clip into the bike. And at that point, I made a decision that I don't regret. I stopped. I could have maybe continued after an hour or so, maybe still come second overall. But I decided to stop. And in the end, I came first in my age group and third overall, but withdrawing at that 19-hour point. Promised my husband that I would not hospitalize myself anymore after a 24-hour race, because that's what happened at Le Mans. After winning the 24-hour race, I then ended up in hospital with a nasty infection, ruined the rest of his holiday, and I didn't want to do that again. I didn't know how I would react to the heat, so I chose the safe option. Now means I've got unfinished business. I think I need to come back.
A smart person knows when to quit, and you're in good company, because many of the people in ultra racing, the names we know best, have at one time or other pulled out of a race. You tell me that you were in the lead until you stopped?
I was in the lead, still had 51 minutes advantage over Shauna Hogan, who won eventually at the 19-hour point. And despite sitting down for the last 5 hours, I still came third overall. So I'm proud of that, and I'm happy. And I've had a taste of what I may be capable of. Yeah, all the incentive to come back, hopefully be able to manage and deal with the heat in a better way.
I'll tell you what, anybody that has led Shauna Hogan for that length of time, that's something of an accomplishment, even if you couldn't finish the race.
Yeah, I was talking with Anna May, who came second. She said that Shauna said to her that unless Jasmine slows down for whatever reason, I probably won't be able to catch her anymore. Between 16-hour and a 19-hour point was where I really started to struggle with the heat, and my speed started to fall. Yet my advantage was still going up. And it's only then that you realize you're not the only one struggling with the conditions. Everyone is struggling with it. One thing she said to me, it's about racing optimally. And that's something that really rang home, and that I've been thinking about a lot since. Even when you look at Christoph Strasser, who posted his power files, you see that even he is human, and even he gets affected in the same way by the heat. You see his power dropping off, and you see that he, after a while, is able to pick it back up again. But he's learned to deal with the conditions and how to adjust to that, and so has Shauna. I think the other complication for me is that right here in the UK, it's autumn, or at least when I came over, it was autumn. It's winter now, so we've got cold conditions to train in, and not used to that heat at all. So if I were to come again, I'd probably come a week early and really take time to acclimatise. I'm working from home probably 2 days a week, so I can literally jump from my bike to my desk.
Well, I'm interested in one of your future goals. You Land's End to John Groats and try to break that record. Is that the direction you're going, south to north?
Yes, I'll be going south to north, so Land's End to John Groats. It is possible to register for the record attempt and also put in a schedule that goes north to south. So if the wind is not blowing in the right direction, you could start in John Groats. Logistically, that's quite challenging, because that means you have to move yourself and your whole support team in the space of 1 or 2 days and rearrange all your transport arrangements and accommodation. So I'm probably going to just stick to south to north.
In fact, I just lost a good friend who did that with his wife on a tandem, not racing, of course, but remind me, how many miles is that?
It's 840 miles.
For those of you who don't know, John Groats is at the very northern tip end of the contiguous land in Scotland, and Land's End is at the other extreme out there in Cornwall, right?
It is, yeah. So in the UK, this is a real classic when it comes to crossing countries and point-to-point racing. This started in, I think, 1885 or so, when the first people started doing this. And then in 1929 is when the current route that, as it stands, that most people take nowadays, which is an all-land route, started from 1929. So there is the reference point for all the historic records. That's where the timer starts. And for me, part of doing this record is about, I guess it's some sort of romanticism, nostalgia, that it's not just you doing something and trying to break a record. It gets meaning because it is placed in the context of all those people before you who have done the same thing.
You're doing that under the sanction of the Ultra Marathon Cycling Association, is that correct?
No, I'm not. I would like to, but I don't think it can qualify because it's not a city to city. Neither Land's End or John O'Groats are cities, so it wouldn't qualify for that. So the body that will observe my record is the Road Records Association in the UK. It's going to be in the Guinness Book of Records. People from the RRA, they are the ones who will be coming along during the record as well. So each of the follow cars they'll be using, there will be an observer in it, and there will be a timekeeper as well. Yeah. The thing is that when you start planning for one goal, secretly you're already planning ahead for the next one. Probably the logical call for me, if I manage to break the record for Land's End John O'Groats, I will actually immediately start my next goal. Because once you've cycled 840 miles, it's only 160 more, and you've done the 1,000-mile record. So immediately upon arriving in John O'Groats, I'm hoping to continue for the 1,000-mile record. The other obvious one would be to go back. There is a record from Land's End, John O'Groats, back to Land's End. I don't know how come. I have to ask Chris Hopkinson about this because I know he had a go at that. Whether he did that through the Guinness Book or through the UMCA. But to date, no woman has ever tried that. I know the male record is something like 5.5 days. But there's no female record ever. So I might want to have a go at that. And RAAM is certainly something that has always been on my list.
Thanks so much, Jasmine, for spending time with us, and we wish you well. We'll be watching.
Thank you very much.
This is part 2 of our interview with Jasmijn Muller, who, after I did the first interview, just had a rather significant event. Those of you who follow ultra cycling on the internet probably already know about it, but it's good to see you again. How are you today?
I'm good, yeah. Like I said, I can just about sit on a chair again.
Well, I think we can understand that. When you were last on, you swore me to secrecy, I believe, not to talk about this. I think was it kind of one of those things where you didn't want to spook yourself by having too many people talking about it? Exactly. The earlier you reveal these things, the more pressure it puts on you. So I try to kind of only announce it a week before. Yeah, I did manage to beat the record, but it was quite a bold statement to try and beat such a strong male rider. I wasn't sure if I was able to succeed, so I didn't want to boast about it in any way during the earlier show we recorded. Okay, well, Jasmine, let's back up a bit because let's actually get on the record here what it was you did. So describe to me what you did. And the record I took on was the Zwift distance record. It's a record that actually doesn't go anywhere because it's done on a virtual world on a turbo trainer. And well, let me interrupt you there. Let's describe what this is. It's called Zwift, right? And just give a quick explanation to people who don't know about Zwift, what it is and what it does. Yeah, Zwift, well, in fact, it's like a computer game. And you are the avatar in there. You're cycling. You're there with people from all around the world, and you're just cycling around in circles in some quite nicely designed. You do it from your own home. I did it for 1,828 kilometers, but it went nowhere. So as I understand it, you can actually have people help you and you can draft off of them on this game, can you? Yeah, so the beauty about this distance record is that you are allowed to draft in this virtual world.
And they're trying to simulate as if it would be on the road. So if you're on the back of someone's wheel, then the resistance will be a little bit less. And the previous record holders, Derek Bocock, Chris Hopkinson, they also, for this one, it was very nice to be able to ride, albeit in a virtual world, with people from all around the world. Even people that I rode with during the 24-hour race at Borrego Spring, they came online at certain points to ride stints with me. So that was really very nice.
Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the previous record holder, Chris Hopkinson, whom we all know as Hoppo, helped you along, did he not?
He did, yes. He came on, I think he came on twice, actually. So quite close to me beating the record, but also earlier on, he came on and gave me some pulls in Zwift. He's been very supportive of me going for the record, and then very supportive whilst doing it. Very, very nice of him indeed. It was never about the record itself. It was for me to test in an indoor environment how I would react to things like sleep deprivation and sitting on the saddle for all that long. It was a means to another record. My next goals are on the road.
I don't think we clarified either that this was a 72-hour record.
Let me clarify a little bit about the record. In principle, there are no rules to this. You got to look at it like a computer game where there's a high score, and the high score is for whoever did the most distance. In theory, you could ride, say, 100 miles every day, then go to sleep, have some food, and then as long as you resume within a 24-hour period, you can keep on riding for the rest of the year, and you can call it a distance record. Both Derek, Chris, and I each treated it in a different way, and we all tried to take as little rest as possible because we're using it as training for other events. So in my case, I'd given myself a 72-hour window just so that it would be comparable with Chris, who rode 72 hours and 36 minutes. I then, in the end, I was riding for 62 hours and 4 minutes. Whereas Chris, I think he was riding for 61 hours and a half. But my total time was 70 hours and 11 minutes compared to his 72 and 36. So I took a little bit less rest than him, but I also beat his record by 202 kilometers. So I was riding faster on average.
Well, that's rather remarkable.
And the key thing of learning for me also was how to work with my support team, because here communication was really easy. I actually had I had a wireless doorbell on a little table next to me. Whenever I needed something, I could just press the doorbell and it would come from the living room and help me.
Wasn't Shu helping you?
Yeah, I had Shu helping me, which was great. She made it, she was strict with me. She was good, but she also made it a lot of fun.
I'm sure she would.
And then in total I had 6 people here with me who were taking it in turns. So there was always 2 people here at least. And when I climbed off the bike, because I had too many problems with saddle sores, they were actually relieved that I was finally quitting. I think they all sat down. It was odd. I was in a very deep sleep afterwards for 2 hours, but then woke up again ready to go because you're still in that rhythm.
Your next adventure, let's talk about this. What is it?
Well, the next big goal is going to be September, trying to beat a record on the road from Land's End to John O'Groats, most southwesterly point in Cornwall to the most northeasterly point in Scotland, so the length of the UK. 843 miles, that distance. If I manage, then I'm going to try to continue for the 1,000-mile record.
Thank you again. When I did the first part of this recording, which you just saw, Jasmine swore me to secrecy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very happy with it too. It was, like I said, a very good learning experience for me, and it was great to see so many people from all around the world really engaging with the record. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jasmine, for being with us. And we want to ask everyone to visit the website, OhioRAAMshow.com. If you're not watching it there already, you'll see some show notes below the video, a list of links that will tell you more about Jasmine, particularly her Land's End to John O'Groats effort, which will be coming later this year. We'll be following her up close. And then a list of all her sponsors are there as well. We're going to try to do that a little better than we have in the past, of making the writer sponsors known on the show. We want to thank all of you for watching the show. We thank you for your support of the show, particularly on the social media where you give us your likes and shares and pluses and retweets and whatever else that you do. You are making things happen here, and we appreciate it a great deal. On the website, OhioRAAMshow.com, you'll also find a place, as I said before, to leave your comments, and also a place you can leave your email address if you'd like notices of future shows. Our next show on April the 7th will be with Thursday Gervais from Illinois, who will be riding in the Red Bull Trans-Siberian race, which goes from Moscow to Vladivostok, a long-distance endurance race through some of the harshest environments in the world. With that, we're going to say thank you again. See you in about 10 days. Goodbye.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.